Greetings. Welcome to the Life in Transition YouTube channel, Facebook group, and we are actually live on Instagram as well. Shout out to StreamYard and all the technology that's here that allows us to do all these awesome things. I am very excited today. My name is Courtney Rollins, the host of the Life in Transition Experts YouTube channel. I'm also the owner and operator of the State Pro Service LLC, which is a company that's a probate specialist in North Carolina. Essentially we help folks make the probate process and estate planning easier while generating income and wealth through real estate. Really just trying to solve a bunch of problems. And the reason I'm super excited today is one of my favorite things to do on this channel is bring amazing people on who can help you solve some of the challenges and issues that are going on in your life. And today I was referred to this awesome young lady by another great friend, and I'm excited to have Ashleigh Seay on here, a short-term rental investor specialist. She has experience in other areas of real estate, and a lot of folks who are trying to make big changes in their life uh, will either uh, look at quite often real estate as a space or a way to make change in their life, or some people actually have real estate as the challenge, and so being able to have someone like Ashleigh come on to help us share her experience can really inspire us to make those changes that we need to make. So, Ashleigh, hello, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is great to have you here. Let me move the thumbnail so people can see you and everything. So, yeah, Ashley, see ya. So, tell us about yourself. How did you get into the world of real estate, and yeah, what was your journey? What was your journey coming into the space? How did you get introduced to it?
Absolutely. So I was, went to college, got out, did the W-2 thing because that's the only thing I knew. And
Yeah.
I think the first time I sat down with a financial advisor thinking, that's the right thing to do, get with a financial advisor, they were telling me how much I had to save, and just looking at the simple math, they were like, you need 2.5 million to
It's
retire.
2.5
And
million.
for me, I was like, those numbers do not add up. And I wasn't, and when you're young, you don't know about inflation. You don't understand. They tell you to pick a number, how much you need per year to live, and you're like, what I make now. So after that meeting, I was like, this isn't going to work. Like, I'm going to have a side job or do something to make more money. And I've always been interested in real estate, but it wasn't until I met what is now my spouse is did we get into real
Uh,
estate together. I think for me, it was having the right counterpart beside you doing it. But we end up getting into it. We've tried every facet. We've done wholesale, flips, long term, and the big one we've stayed into and done a lot of uh, bought a lot of lessons in is short term rentals. So we got into it about 2017.
wow.
18 was probably the first thing we did, and we've never looked back. We just keep on growing.
Oh
So
man. Yeah, so you're working with your husband. That is super awesome. And he was the one who put you on to real estate as a possibility?
well, we kind of looked at it together.
Oh, together. Okay.
So
Yeah. And so what makes a person coming out of college, I mean, I know when I was coming out of college, I don't know if I had the wherewithal to say, "Hey, let me sit with the financial advisor at this point in my life." What was the impetus? What made you say, "Hey, I need to connect with an advisor to help me see where my
Um, I,
life is on
I
track?"
think once I had got over the hump of student loan debt, then the savings
Yeah.
account started growing a little bit. When I say grow, that it wasn't massive by all means, but when you're, I think the first job I ever got was $5.75. That was the minimum wage back then. So compared to what I was making by the time I was living pretty much debt free at the time, I was like, oh, I'm making a little bit of money. Maybe I should talk to somebody. And of course, family members, that's what they know is to save money. And as you
Right,
grow as being an investor, you realize that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
right,
But at the time I was on that path, I was like, okay, well, I'll save money. And then who do you talk to when you save money? A financial advisor.
right.
And I'm not talking about, so it was like Edward Jones, I think is who I contacted.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it
Well,
was a common name that you would reach
yeah.
out to when you're thinking about starting to save money.
And that's the thing, you know, a lot of us who are, especially in real estate or have the entrepreneur spark, you hear sometimes the same story. Hey, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it made me realize that, hey, you know, saving, which is a traditional route that many people tell you. I mean, I know my dad, bless him, he hammered that into me to save. Now, I don't know if I
Mm.
necessarily took integrated the those lessons, but I know he was always save, 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 and these are people who you care about, who love you, who want your best interests. But it can be a challenge when, um, but as you said, inflation things of nature, putting money in the bank is like losing money if you're not investing it, if you're not making it circulate, if you're not
Absolutely.
making it serve and flow, then it can be a challenge. And a lot of people don't don't recognize that. How did you recognize real estate as the route? Like, oh, this is how I'm going to leverage my time to get back a
That
lot more.
that's a great question because I had not read any books. I learned about Rich Dad Poor Dad after the fact.
Yeah, you're one of the few. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be honest, probably watching TV, you see
Hey.
HGTV or something like that. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, well, flipping houses would be fun. And I think once we got in, we started going to some local meetups because the minute we
Yeah.
were like, I think we're going to do real estate, let's go to some meetups. So I searched Facebook, found a few things local. And I also was calling bandit signs at the time just to
Oh wow.
talk to people, and
Yeah.
I found a meetup that way, and that meetup ended up being one of the best meetups where we grew a lot and met some of the bigger investors in our area in Knoxville. But then the first meeting we went to, everybody kept saying, "You're gonna get sued. You're gonna get sued. It's not when or it's not how or when." I forgot how they
Yeah.
worded it, but
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
like, "You're gonna get sued." So it scared us. So then
Yeah.
we end up going and we did a 3 day training, and then we went to another seminar, and that ended up being Robert Kiyosaki supported, which was the
Oh
Rich
yeah.
Dad Poor Dad. So somehow we ended up in it, and that's the first time I ever heard about the book about
Yeah.
how you should live in the four quadrants, which quadrant you should live in.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that
Wow.
was kind of how it all kicked off. And then we learned so many different ways you can make real estate. But at the same time, that confuses you because you go to these events and everybody's like, look here, everybody has a shiny penny to show you. And so then it's a realizing your mindset of what do you want to focus in on so you can make the money. So
Wow.
that was another uh, thing
And
for us is how do
it,
you make the money?
right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I can feel you on that because my journey was, I was similar when it came to um, when I was introduced to real estate. I was watching. I mean, I just got addicted to Bigger Pockets, and that's a
Yeah.
great forum for new investors, even old investors. But a challenge, especially with someone with ADHD, is that every episode was awesome. So I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I want to invest in storage units. Oh, I want to invest in multi units. Oh, I want to wholesale. Oh, I want to do notes. And so like drinking from a fire hydrant is almost what it's like when you're entering a space of real estate because there's so many ways to serve and help folks. Can you tell me, well, how did you guys decide? Okay, this is where we're going to put our hat on after. Yeah, what did you and
That
your
took us a
husband?
while.
Yeah,
Because we were always like, okay, regardless of anything we get into, we have to find the deals because that's
right,
ultimately
right.
what's going to push you forward. So we, of course, started marketing for single family homes. Didn't know much
Mhm.
past that. And then the first wholesale deal we did, I was like, that's not for me. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
If we market them, we're either going to keep them or we're just going to call a friend. If they don't want that lead, then I'm not taking it. So that just
yeah.
wasn't for me. Then the next thing we started doing some flips. I really enjoyed that because I like being busy and I
Mm,
like project management, but it is very stressful. And in the meantime, that's not a quick turnaround a lot of
right.
times. So as you're going through months of doing this, the market can go up, down, sideways. I think the last several flips we did, it was right in the middle of COVID and we thought the whole world was going to crash.
Oh
So
yeah,
we were like, okay, we got to unload these quick. But if we
right.
had held those properties, they're probably worth 100K more now on
That's
each
so
of
cool.
them. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you don't know. You're just moving along with the market. So, and
Um,
then when we made money on because you got to realize flips are active cash. So
right.
when we started making the active cash, we were like, well, we need to roll this into something passive because we
It's tax
knew
man. Yeah.
our whole strategy from the beginning is we thought we were going to keep working the W 2 and just keep working that. And then the supplemental for the retirement would be passive. So we
Um,
knew our end game would be to hold, buy and hold. So then we started rolling it into a couple multifamily, small ones, not apartment complexes. And then we started the passive game. And then somebody came up to us and started telling us about short term rentals and how the money was so much, but that's still the active game. And then we got into that, and we spend more time in that than we do the passive side. But I don't, neither one of them really take a lot of work because I believe in heavily automating anything you touch. And that's kind of what
So
um,
yeah.
I'm reaching out. The referral that got me to you is because my mentor is saying you need to get out there and start talking, build up your confidence, because you have a product that you can share with everybody. So you need to get out there and start talking about it. But
Absolutely, yeah.
we stayed in the short term. But regardless, I think the biggest message, if you get into real estate and you build up a lot of passive, you still need, I think, some active flow. You need an active business to keep the money coming in, because
Well,
sometimes passive is a long game.
okay, let's take just a little small step back for this person who maybe stumbled on this YouTube and is even just really just trying to figure out the difference between active and passive. You did mention the four quadrants. Can you like elaborate a little bit on that about the difference between passive and active for somebody who
I would
may not know?
tell them to talk to their CPA lawyer first, but really active and passive to me, what it means is just the difference in the tax codes.
Hmm,
Active, you're going to
that's good.
pay a lot more taxes, and you're going to have business write-offs. But passive, it's just money that comes in. I don't know if I can. That's but it's tax free. I mean, it's income coming in, but like I said, CPA
Well, I'm
and
glad.
lawyer
Actually,
advise
I'm so
them.
that's so cool that you broke it down that way because a lot of people that one of the more traditional definitions is active is something that you actually have to work on. It's income, like when you flip or when you assign a contract or when you get a real estate listing. That money is active. You have to put in time, your own personal time to get money out, or at least leverage other people's time to get money out. And
Hmm.
passive is supposedly that that like rental or that money that they're working for you while you sleep. Those courses that people buy, those things of nature.
Yeah.
But as you alluded to earlier, one, all of them you have to work in, and
Yes.
also both sides you can still automate to create systems
Hmm.
that you can rely on. But that's so cool that that yeah, again, check with your CPA. We're not giving financial legal advice,
Yeah, we're
but one
not
of the
giving
big
that out.
things for investors is that active income is taxed quite often at a much higher tax rate. And passive income, especially if you set it up properly, have the right facts
Hmm.
established, it can either be tax free or very lower rate, which means more money in your pocket, more money for your family. Yeah, I'm going to start. I will have that caveat that hey, check with your CPA, but the difference
Yeah.
is how the tax code. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. So, all right, now I'm asking again, one on one, short-term rentals. What are they? And then I'll let
Okay.
that be another question.
So everybody says they'll say LTR or STR. So long-term rentals is the LTR, and that's where someone rents month to month, basically. And obviously, you do a 1 year lease, so it's where
Okay.
you lease out your property, and you hope they stay for several years, but ideally, it's a 1 year term. Some people do 6 months. For short-term rental, it's where someone can rent 1 to 2 days, and then they're out of your property, and then you roll someone else back in. So you're constantly evolving your property, and then it no longer is classified as a long-term rental for the tax code. So you'll have to talk to your CPA because it's a difference
Uh,
in depreciation because of the way you're rolling, how many stays you have on your property.
wow, interesting. Yeah, and short-term rentals like the one many people hear about is Airbnb, Verbo, and all those. Those are
Yes.
short-term rental platforms. Uh,
Correct. And I always correct people. I'm like, because nobody knows STR a lot of times. And I'm like, actually, that is the real estate strategy. But everybody says Airbnb. And I'm like, no, technically, Airbnb is the platform,
Platform. Yeah,
Verbo,
yeah,
Booking.com. All these are your platforms. And
right.
short term rentals is actually the method you're using.
Yeah,
And that's why you need these platforms, or not necessarily. You could do direct bookings, but at the same time, everybody just says Airbnbs, and I'm like,
yeah. It's become like Tylenol or ask one of those things for like the.
it's a
Yeah,
fantastic thing. My friend used the analogy. She says when people have a runny nose, what do they say? Hand me the Kleenex. Kleenex is the
yes, yes,
brand. You really
right,
want the tissue, right?
right.
So Airbnb's done a wonderful job because they have coined it.
That's
Everybody knows it
awesome.
as them, and I'm like, It's
Yeah.
technically the tissue that does the work, you know. Kleenex
Hey,
is just the brand.
absolutely. Well, let's learn more about the actual tissue from you. And folks, on the
Yeah.
ticker, if you're watching this on YouTube, which is awesome, um, you can find Ashley on Ashleigh Seay at Facebook. And Ashley is spelled Ashleigh
Yeah, it's a little different.
Seay. Yeah, so we got the ticker at the bottom. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So why short-term rentals though? What's so great about short-term rentals?
Well, for me, it's a little bit more revenue, but if you don't buy
Mhm,
right, it's not going to be the case. So there, someone will debate me long term or short term. I've got both sides. I can compare the numbers. For me, I know, but your expenses are higher
mhm,
because you're paying for everything now. You don't have um, a tenant paying for the water, sewer, their own cable.
right.
You're ultimately paying for everything. And the big thing I stress, if me, I get bored very easy. So when I automate something and I don't have something else going, I'm bored. I'm ready for something else. So short-term rentals keep me active, and I, it's always changing. And two, it's a hospitality business. It's
Right.
all about you're going to be responsive. Yes, you're not going to please them all, but at the end of the day, these people ultimately come to your property and they really enjoy it. And you're like, thank you for
Right.
coming. And, you know, they have so
Wow.
many kind words to say. And sometimes it can be very rewarding. You'll have some guests where it's not very rewarding.
That's cool. So having that type of personality where you like the change and the flow. That's one reason I love the real estate and the wholesaling. I've tried to recently start taking a little bit of breaks from looking at my phone, but every time you look at your phone, there's some new fire to put out, some new thing. And so I guess with a long-term rental, you have more like one tenant or a group of tenants that you're fulfilling commitments to, but it's a little more hands off. But with the short term rental, you have the opportunity to serve a lot of people. And you said because of that, the revenue, or not because of that, but the revenue is that the income you get is considerably
Yeah.
higher, even with the expenses. Can you speak more to
Yes.
that?
Ideally, for my
Okay,
situation,
yeah,
it works that
exactly.
way. I always like to put in there every person's situation is different, and I've seen plenty of videos where people are like, I can't make the money to make it
Mhm.
work. So it's one of those. It's a case by case, and when I work with people, I'm like, let's look at your location. Location is key, no matter where
Yep,
you're at. And
that's exactly what I was gonna ask you.
yeah, and
Location is
so
one
a lot of
factor.
times, the advice I give if you're buying in, you know, big cities,
Hmm.
just always consider if you run your numbers, make sure that property works for a long-term rental numbers,
That's
because at
great.
any point, Atlanta just did it. I think Nashville's kind of doing it, and even some beach areas, they're doing lottery systems, or they're taking Airbnbs, as they want to say, they're
Mhm.
taking them out of the inner cities
Right.
because they realize they don't have enough residential living, so they're just doing it. Uh, so anywhere that they could basically take away your business, make sure that property makes sense for long term, because I would
So,
either just rent it long term with all the furniture in there, or I'd sell
right.
all the furniture and throw tenants back in it, and I wouldn't skip a beat.
So I got you. So making sure that when you buy that whatever the mortgage, insurance, so whatever the monthly is, that you can still maintain it if it's a turns into a traditional long-term rental is
Correct.
important. You said location. What factors do you think about when it comes to location for short-term rentals?
Luckily, we have the best location in our backyard, which is the Great Smoky Mountains.
Oh, that's
So
gorgeous.
we stay right in the vacation areas.
Right.
I think anywhere that has big attractions.
Mhm.
There's another area I'm looking into that has an outdoor attraction, but there's not a lot of anything. No hotels, nothing. I still think that may be a great place to go. You'll have to really fix up the properties, but that would be another place for short-term rentals. Anywhere with adventure, water parks, amusement parks, somewhere that's a vacation travel. I think you would. They would tend not to regulate you so much because they know they need places for these the tourists to stay.
Mhm.
But people do well in cities as well. But I just always like to set people up for success and be like, don't overpay for it based on the short term. Make sure it makes sense as long term. Now, would you get outbid for everything? It's a possibility, but for longevity, I say 100%. I would do my numbers based on a long term.
And when you say setting people up and all, how are you helping people who want to enter the short-term rental space.
Absolutely. So the I'm doing several different ways. As
Yeah.
always, you cater to everybody's needs. First, you try to understand what are they looking for, and some people just is like, I got my systems, I understand it, and they're just looking for someone to come in and audit their property and be like, how do I increase my bookings? So I've been helping with that. I've been trying to narrow down to three different ways now, where I'm just trying to do some educational packages that I can sell. The other is JV with people. And try to look at it that way, where I manage the properties and try to get our revenue up, and then we can split the cash flow. And then the other one is, if you don't, some people are, time is money for investors. They don't want to do anything, so they just call and say, hey, come and do it all. So
And that's you can
that's the
turn your
one where we
yeah.
show up, we help you, find out everything with your area. Hopefully they're calling before they buy to make sure that there's no restrictions in the area, because that's another a big topic, is to make sure that location is one, but make sure that there's no restrictions. You look at your license that you got to get, make sure the HOA doesn't have a problem with you. Everybody regulates you in this world, if you don't already know that.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I
Everybody
actually,
wants in your pocket if you're making
yeah,
money.
piece, yeah. The regulation can be put you in a chokehold. Um, that's why it's important to have folks like Ashley or like you to be able to, you know, their, success leaves clues, and if you can follow the map of someone that's way more powerful than stitching it together. YouTube University is amazing information age, but it
Yeah.
definitely is more powerful when you have that focus like a the barrel of a gun. You can focus it and you can really put your
Uh,
energy where you need to place it. So I'm glad you're doing that for folks. You know, one of my spaces, I actually helped a an investor. I basically was the property manager for her short-term rental. I lived literally right next door. I figured it'd give me a little bit of experience on what that looks like on that side. And two things that I noticed, and I would love for you to speak about this or tell me debunk them or or, or even give Alpha more, is that you already said actually earlier that hospitality, how important it is for the the interface, the experience of like checking in, seeing that it's actually clean, and really those two things, like making the process of checking in seamless and
mhm.
making sure that this place looks clean seem like the two things that the property owner was so adamant about making sure I had that the cleaning crew was able to get there and that everybody had all that stuff together. Are those can you speak to those things and or other tips that you may have when it comes to the hospitality side of short-term
Okay.
rental?
Because I'm going to step it back one more,
Oh,
because
cool, cool, yeah.
if I jump it forward this one, so the first part is, you're buying it on location and you have
Mhm.
it. You probably need to search around there and see what the amenities are, and make sure your property has accommodation amenities similar
Okay.
to what your other listings near you are. Then
Oh,
we can
okay.
go into the step what you're talking about is, if you already have what matches the area, then and then you're still not booking, then it's you at that
Mhm.
point. So then we'll start looking at what he keyed on is, hospitality is the number one thing, and
Mhm.
then your cleaners are, I say, they're my lifesaver. They're the backbone and foundation to this business.
Yeah.
Because if your cleaner is not there for you or looking out for you in your best interest, you're done.
'Cause they also
Now,
the
if you
reviews.
decide to
Woo.
take on all your cleaning, I did a speech with one event on a call, and one lady was like, I do all my cleaning. I said, I'm going to praise you right now that you've taken that on, because that is a lot of work,
That's
being the
something to do
manager
too.
and the cleaner.
Wow, I go with the pressure. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yes.
and if you're like my wife is ready to leave a good review or a bad review, so she's ready, and
Hmm.
she bases it off like how clean it is in there quite often when we're doing a short-term rental. Yeah,
Yeah. So cleaning is top one, and just with hospitality, it's good to be sweet and nice and not just rude, but continuous communication with the guests, whether they communicate with you or not.
hmm
That's going
continue
to
to
be another
whether
big.
they communicate or not. Oh, okay. So you mean like how you doing? Did everything get in properly, or
Yep.
have you automated those?
Tons of follow up. I
Ah,
do pre follow up. Well, I don't know if that's follow up. That's pre communication and
yeah.
post follow up.
Well, and I think that's super important too, because I know just from a person who would use it, that would give me to know that it has that level of attention, I think would help some people know that they need to be on their best behavior. This is not some
Yeah.
like just throw it away type of thing. This is something that's being cared for. You know, another. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, if you're spending that much, a lot of times you are spending a little bit more than if you know it's just going to be a short term. They ain't going to restrict you. You are spending top dollar for these properties
Yeah,
because your return is so much more.
right,
So if I want to spend that much money, I'm going to do everything I can to run it like a business and
right.
make it profitable.
Oh, that's a great point. So you, as knowing that you're in strategy, and this is one reason I actually love wholesaling, assigning my contracts to long-term rental and buy and hold, because those folks can buy a little more because they're going for the cash flow. They make sure that their debt is all covered, and especially if you're using your strategy to make sure it still can act as long term, you can have a more competitive, aggressive, um, how do you say, offer to
Yeah,
folks than someone who's coming in to flip because they need their margins lower. That's awesome.
yeah.
Ashley, what about uh, one other thing that I heard was awesome about the cleaning coming in is that you actually get eyes every other day or every week on your
Hmm.
property as opposed to when it's just sitting there. So could you talk about, not that you're trying to discourage long-term rentals because I'm sure that's pretty awesome for folks, but can you talk about some more of the like why you love short-term rental? Uh, yeah,
Oh,
I know you mentioned the different fires you get to put out and people you get to meet in
yeah.
hospitality, but for as far as like from an investor standpoint, um, you know you mentioned income, but what else?
I mean, income is definitely one of
Okay,
them,
that's
but
good. Let's
I'm
stop there.
I'm a math person and I'm a numbers person. I make my own spreadsheets. So one, I have a full on analysis sheet. So the reports that you get out, either through your channel manager or what Airbnb and Verbo you can print out through Excel, I transfer them to another Excel and I populate a huge spreadsheet and I break down my finances. How much money do I bring in per month that hits the bank account? And then I look at how many days did I book in that month and how much money value did I get that way? And then I analyze the percentage that I get bookings from Airbnb versus Verbo versus Booking to understand why does one platform do better than the other? So to me, it's more of a numbers game. And then I monitor how much I spend on all the different subcategories for each property. And then I try to see, okay, if I'm spending more here, I just need to go ahead and replace it or I need to upgrade something. And then I compare my reviews too for each property. So to me, it's like, I don't like statistics, but it kind of is like you're looking at data analysis and you're trying to see how you can optimize each property. So it's kind of like a game to me
Oh,
because one property wasn't performing well. So we were like, okay, well, we're going to test this. So we spent several $100s. We put it in, and this year's actually done really well. So that testing phase actually paid off.
heck
And
yeah.
and the biggest thing, people are scared to hear this, but who is going to give you the best feedback of your property? It'll be the people that stay there, right?
Mhm.
Don't hesitate to ask them, would there be anything you would change differently with this property while you stay? Or do you have any suggestions on how we can have better accommodations for the future guest? Why not ask
Yeah.
that for everybody that comes and stays? That is something as simple as an automated message, and no one does it because they're like, I don't want to know.
I'm scared to hear
To
the
me, I'm
answer,
like,
but
rip the
that's
band-aid
yeah.
off. Tell me right away because
I
I'm
hear
not
that.
in here to not make money. I'm here to make
Yeah.
money. How do I make my property better? And we've got over 300 and some reviews. I've had 300 different review people that I can beta test anything I want on.
Heck yeah, and man, the reviews are gold nowadays. Good
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's so those are the salesmen for you and getting that
Yep.
feedback. Yeah, lean into the discomfort, folks. Like if you want to be comfortable, you can be comfortable and it can be complacent and stagnant. That could be it's hard to do that and reach some of the goals that a lot of us have in life.
I know. Now you can't help all of them where someone may say, well, it would have been better if it had a lake view. Yes, it
Right here,
would.
and if
We're
the
in the
lake existed
mountains
here,
and we
yeah.
don't have lakes.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere down the road, but I appreciate your feedback.
Yeah. So how are you? How can people, if they want to learn from you, they work with you? Can you tell more about the coaching program? Carly, you mentioned earlier, but Carly was mentioning that too
Yeah,
also.
just reach out to me. We can send the detailed layout of how each of them work, but reach out to me through Facebook. I mean, I could say email, phone number, but sometimes that blows up a little too much.
Yeah, you won't be
Facebook,
able to
I
get to
can
folks.
Facebook Messenger, I can answer that a lot quicker and manage it. But yeah, we have three different things that we work, and sometimes I've done. Like I said, some people come to you and they're like, "I've already got it laid out. I just need help. Why isn't it booking?" And then I'm like, "Okay, let me look at that." Because recently, someone reached out to me. It's my mentor, and he was like, "Okay, if you know short-term rentals, look at my properties if you don't mind." I said, "Sure, send
Mm,
me what you've got." And then he hired an assistant. So I got all the bookings. I co-hosted with them, and I went through everything. And I called the assistant. I said, "I can tell you right now, change this, this, and this."
oh,
And
wow.
I rewrote one of the listings for him. And last month, the month before I got there, he made $4,000. This month, I think he made close to 18,000 for three
Wow,
properties.
some huge changes
So
right there.
just changing a little bit in the
Yeah.
listing, and she went in the house and updated and did a few little things, not drastic amount of money. It's just common things that you would not think matters, but it does. One specific one, it was an eight. It slept eight, but when I looked at the kitchen table, it only had four chairs. So if I'm a family coming in there and I want to do game night, because we're a game night kind of family, we're bigger.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's everybody going to sit to
Yeah.
play games? I would be so frustrated. So
Yeah.
it's just little things like that. Go to Big Lots, buy an 8-seater until you can save up money to get you a nicer table. But little things like that make a huge difference. But when you're not in the game, really analyzing everything, you just overlook some of those little small things about it.
Well, as you can see, it is obvious that Ashley knows what she's talking about and that has an expertise as well as, I mean, you mentioned so many times systems and data, and that's, we have somebody who is experiencing that and also willing and able to share that. That's a huge thing. Like one of the first things that you came on here and you said in your journey was you got around people who knew what they were talking about. You went to meetups, you went to spaces. So I highly encourage you if you're thinking about short-term rentals or learning about even just real estate investing to reach out to Ashley on Facebook because I mean it could really be the change in life that you're looking for. So I really also appreciate your time, Ashley, and I want to ask you to leave our folks with any tidbit of advice or anything that you can as they continue this journey before we go.
Absolutely. Automate as much as you can. That I'm a firm believer in that. Leverage your network. I can say that till I'm blue in the face. Leverage your network because even the experience I've got, I can't say it's all me. We bought a lot of lessons along the way, but the community that we have locally, going to meetups where other people own short-term rentals, and just asking and following up with them, seeing what are they going through, asking, "Hey, is there anything I can help you with?" You learn so much by
Mhm.
leveraging the people around you. So, and then wherever you go for short-term rentals, I would say get involved in any Facebook group nearby and just search. Don't listen to the people that are going to discourage you, though. Know
Yes.
what you want and
Right.
attack it with action and follow through.
Amen. Oh, I love that, especially making sure that you curate your environment where, especially the
Mhm.
naysayers who aren't doing it,
I know.
why talk to them? They're not doing it. Obviously, so yeah, get yourself around so many amazing folks. And we live in an amazing time where you can curate your own community just by putting in a Google search, a Bing search, or going to Facebook
Mhm.
has so many awesome stuff, or reaching out to Ashley C right here,
And
and she can point
every
you in the right direction.
information is
Yeah,
out there, but like I said, time is money for people, and that's where people like me, I'm like, learn from my experience. I'm going to speed you up faster
right.
than you going and reading every book that I've looked at, and I'm like, I've learned more by just doing it.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that.
Speed you
And
up.
'cause, like, somebody can give you that path. You're leveraging your years of experience, so they're leveraging yours. That's amazing. Well, Ashley, I really appreciate it. I told you it was going to be 20 to 30 minutes, and I appreciate you going over time with me. I can't wait to put this out to folks in the space. I can't wait to connect with you more. If I come across any deals in Rocky Mountain, I'm definitely going to send them your way. Or if I go into the short-term rental space here, I know who I'll be
Okay.
picking up the phone or texting a message in the call. But
Absolutely. And in
thank you.
September, I'm going to be in North Carolina at
Oh
one of the
yeah, check out
meetups. So
Carly.
maybe we'll
Yeah.
get to
Oh,
network there.
absolutely. Carly's one of my favorite people. She's actually I interviewed her a while back. I'm not sure which episode, but it was awesome talking about creative financing and helping people in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. But Ashley,
Nice.
thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and
Thank
let you
you.
go. You all, if you have any questions, feel free to hit her up directly, or you can leave a comment or a post. That type of stuff really helps the algorithm be happy and us reach more people, inspire more people, and really hopefully impact and change more people's lives. So this is Courtney Rollins with Ashleigh Seay from the Life in Transitions Experts channel, LITE. Let your light shine.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Courtney.
Thank you, Ashley. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
That was awesome.